Violence is the most urgent problem of our times. I think we all know that. 70% or more people diagnosed with serious mental illnesses right across the spectrum. Psychosis, schizophrenic, schizophreniform disorders, so-called anxiety disorders, clinical depression, so on and so forth. 70% of people or more, depending on the jurisdiction, people who are diagnosed report significant violence experiences or trauma experiences or both. Violence in childhood is the single best predictor of diagnosis of mental illness as an adult. You notice what I'm saying is diagnosis of mental illness. I'm not saying having mental illness. There's a very big difference between the two. People who are living in homelessness and poverty are much more subject to violence, as we know, much higher rates. People who experience eating disorders, dangerous drug use, or self-harm, so-called, and a whole host of other problems. Indigenous people in Canada who are in the prison camps called residential schools, you would call them mission schools. Very high rates of non-insulin dependent diabetes. They went from high protein, no starch, high fat to the opposite diets overnight. So there are all kinds of health problems connected with that. Prostitution, porn, human trafficking, as we know, extremely high levels of violence for people who get into those arenas of work, disproportionately high level, but also in the course of that kind of activity. Criminal activity, convictions. What percentage of prison inmates in Australia would have significant experiences of violence, would you say? 95, something like that? And about what percentage of your child protection cases involve some form of violence? Pretty high, right? Okay, so what this means, if you take it seriously, is if we get better at addressing violence, we're going to get better at everything. That's the big enchilada. If we get better at justice and better at addressing violence, if we get better at inclusion, if we get better at being peaceful, we're going to get better at everything. It's not a mental health problem, it's a social justice problem. That's what we're trying to do, no? And that's why we're all here today, because we're all committed to that project in some way, shape, or form. Am I right? That's what we're all doing. That's why we're all involved in the work that we're doing. So I think that's what we share fundamentally.